Hello everyone and welcome in. My name is Jeremy Poplin and welcome to part 2 of the Portal House with Tulsa Football. Here with Mason Behiel, Tulsa Football General Manager. Mason, thanks for being here, by the way, in this incredible setting. So first things first, because there's been so many changes in the dynamic of college football. Some people may not even know what your day-to-day job is as a general manager. So let's start there. General manager role at Tulsa, where would you like to begin?
Yeah, well, no, I appreciate you for having me and welcome to the Portal House. It's been good so far. I think, essentially the main end of the day, the goal is just all things with the roster. So working with Coach Lamb to essentially just put together the best roster we can to meet our goals, which going into the 2026 season is really to compete and try and win the American Conference. We think that, with the help from our administration and what Justin's kind of put into us resource-wise, that we have a real chance. We have a lot of stability with our coaching staff and some of our players, so we're really looking forward to that. And really just everything for my job day to day is just all about our roster. So obviously evaluating our current players on a semester to semester, year to year, week to week basis, evaluating the high school players that we're going to bring in and sign and recruit, junior college, and then obviously a large part of it is the transfer portal, as the big buzzword in college football right now, and it is a big part of it. So we're going to be active in the portal, so lots of year-round evaluation of other college programs. I also help with like the advanced scouting reports on a weekly basis, a lot of conversations with agents, and then also the financial piece. So we working with administration on here's how much money we're going to have for our roster, and then trying to figure out the best way to allocate it. So where are we going to spend it? What positions are we going to spend? How much at each position? How much at the top of that position, the bottom of that position? So just figuring out ways to put together the pieces, from player 1 to player 105 or potentially more, and just putting together the best foot forward so we can go compete. So really it's working with Coach Lamb, working with all the coaches, the coordinators, everyone kind of being on the same page, and at the end of the day, finding the best way to see what we can do and put together players on the field. That way they can go play and get coached.
You're constantly on the move. Every time I saw you through the course of either spring ball or through the course of the season, you had your list, you were up, you were going through the evaluation process. We're here at the Portal House now because the portal season is open, but your work begins way in advance of this. So how much work goes into this process just for you to get to this point for when the portal window opens?
Yeah, a lot of it's done ahead of time. Year round, I have lots and lots of agents that I can talk to. The way it goes now, you're not allowed to talk directly to players until they enter the portal, but going through their agents is a good way to connect with them, find out what interest they have, what they're looking for, and also like who's out there that's potentially going to hit the portal. So, before today, the transfer portal opening, we had, I think it was like 22 guys scheduled on visits, and that's all just through evaluation throughout the season, figuring out, where they fit for us, what it looks like financially for them, and then coming to some sort of agreement with an agent, and then finding out dates that work. And as long as there's interest on both parties, go from there. So yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into it ahead of time, really all year round, just looking at who's out there, who's potentially going to be there kind of weekly. We had a pretty decent process, I thought, of evaluating guys at all different levels, whether it was, P4 guys we knew could potentially be drop downs to our level, good FCS players kind of coming up, the rest of the quality group of 5 players that we're going to go target. So a lot of just kind of weekly evaluation and then narrowing it down. But, you can try and be as prepared as you want. But once the portal window, and now only being one portal window, once that hits, you never know. It's always a lot of work.
Let's get into the portal window here in just one second. But first, I asked Coach Lamb in part 1 about the transparency part. I think that's a fair question to ask you as well, as someone who lives and breathes this on a daily basis. So from a transparency portion, how important is it for you for the rest of college football to kind of understand how the game actually operates now?
Yeah, no, I think transparency is great. Like, there's not reason to hide anything really of how we do things or how anyone does things. I know different schools do things so differently because there's still not a complete standard everywhere. Everyone has different budgets, different rosters, different recruiting areas, different needs, different way they're set up, different recruiting staffs, so there's not really one standard, but I don't see the way, everything is now, there's no need to, not be transparent about how we operate and what we want to do, because everyone at the end of the day, like, you're going to operate a little bit differently based on your coach and your head coach and your staff and the place you're at. But yeah, I think transparency is important now because a lot of people across college football don't know, fans especially, like exactly what all goes into it and how it works. And there's players out there that you want the best for them, right? So you don't want them to not know and enter the portal and not know how it works, what their opportunities are. So I think it's great. And I think at the end of the day, you want, obviously, for us to do the best we can, but we want to also make sure that players and staffs and coaches are in the best position they can across the sport.
There are a lot of things that will factor into whether a guy decides to sign or not, but you're also at a place where you're looking for areas to put yourself and the football team in the best position to try to sign those guys. So what can a place like this in the Portal House, which is different, outside of the box thinking, how can that help you in this specific instance?
Yeah, I think for us, it helps the staff a lot, right? So, like kind of a reason why this idea ended up being a thing in the first place was because we were like, all right, the portal is going to be chaotic. We're going to have recruits on campus. We're going to have a lot of conversations to have, a lot of ways to communicate. We're going to really need that, be long nights. And so we're like, what if we had a centralized location that wasn't just at the office that we could be at all the time, and a little more of a relaxed environment. And even how we have it set up right now, it's awesome. Like, it's all the coaches are here, and I have to kind of communicate with all of them based on changes and phone calls and conversations and visits and evaluations. So everyone's right here in kind of a more relaxed environment. So it's actually been great so far. I've really enjoyed it. So for us, it kind of just speeds up the process a little bit in a good place to do it. And I think it's a good spot too when we bring the recruits here on campus. It's just, there's things to do. They can communicate with all the staff and kind of, get to know us as a whole, and then also with kind of the content that we're going to put out with it. I think it's a way for our fans to just get to know our staff, get to know what we're like outside of just what they see on the field.
Seems like that you've got multiple plates spinning at one time. You're not only talking with agents, but you're going through the type of money that is available at that point, but also the communication with the coaches. So what's that dynamic like? Like, you find someone that you like, you feel like you find someone that might be a good fit here, then you start those conversations with that position coach. So how does that dynamic work when you find one, or maybe they find one and bring one to you?
Yeah, either way, it's just constant communication, and kind of in our evaluation process, we try and get to a point where everyone's on the same page. So myself, the rest of our recruiting staff, position coach, coordinator, Coach Lamb, like the guys that we bring in on visits and the guys that we try and sign, everyone's on the same page. So it's kind of a big filter, right? Like, there's gonna be a lot of names we go through, and a lot of names you maybe watch 5 plays and they're like, not for us, or doesn't quite fit the position or profile of what we're looking for. So you move on. But once we do identify someone we really like, okay, this is a target, we're gonna go after them. And now that the portal's open and guys are in there, a lot of it, how it works for us is the players talk to our coaches. So our coaches get on the phone with the players. I usually get on the phone with their agents if they have one, and kind of deal with that side of it. The coaches talk to the players, get to know what they're looking for, scheme, football-wise, culture fit, character, just like have those conversations. And then as long as the initial conversations go well, try and get them here on a visit, bring them in on campus, and see what we can do.
You said something that's interesting, and that is the word filter, because you do have several filters that you're going through. No matter if you're producing content or trying to put together a football team, when you put something in and it comes out, it's important that it fits what you are looking for specifically. So from your perspective, Coach talked about there's some things that are non-negotiable from his standpoint. What about you? Are there certain characteristics that you're looking for, or are you just trying to serve the coaches at this point?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, my main job is to try and execute Coach Lamb's vision for the program and for the roster. So, we have those communications and dialogue about, what we want it to look like. And, but I think at the end of the day, we need to be on the same page. And I feel like we are. So the things that he wants are kind of the things that I'm looking for too. And, with the staff, like I said, like if there's someone that I feel strongly about that position coach doesn't want, like we're not going to go take that guy. Like there's no need to push someone, I think, on a position coach if they don't really want him. But I think, like Coach Lamb said, that he's been preaching that for the last couple of months and throughout the whole season. Like, we're looking for production. We're looking for guys that can win, guys that love football. And then positionally, there's some differences about what kind of we're looking for based on, what we need and what we'll actually use them for. So that guide kind of helps too if a guy enters the portal and doesn't immediately fit that just off maybe the position, size, experience, production, then maybe we just move on a different direction. So really, execute Coach Lamb's vision is kind of the plan.
Each place is individual across the country, but what makes a player a good fit or a specific fit for the University of Tulsa?
I think for us here, the main thing that we're looking for in guys is guys that love football and the guys that can help us win games. And it sounds pretty obvious, but I think when you're here on a daily basis in the building every day, like the guys that really are bought in and really want to be here and really want to like go through the whole process is really important. But as far as skill set wise, I think being at this level is kind of a unique thing to where there isn't one sort of specific need, right? Players come from all different levels. We have guys this past year that were from the Big Ten all the way down to Division III, Division II, and all in between, right? So we can afford to take some guys that maybe have some deficiencies but are still really good football players. Whereas if you're at maybe a higher level, you might not take certain deficiencies, and that might just be an endpoint for you. But for us, like, they come in all different shapes and sizes and skill sets and from different places. So I think that makes it fun with the evaluation process, because you can go through it with all of our staff and like, regardless of any deficiencies, if they can come be a good player on the field for us and the character and the love for football adds up, then might be a fit for us.
I think the one thing that the transfer portal has done, at least from my perspective, is it's opened the eyes to a lot of people that are just fans of the sport, that there are good players all across the country and at every level. And we're seeing that proven even through the course of the college football playoff, about where guys have been in their previous stops and then move on to a different school. But it has spread the talent out, but there are great players across the country.
Yeah, across the country at all different levels. So the more information you have is what can kind of get you to that answer. I do think it's the way that it works now. It's so quick, especially in this portal process, like finding out as much as you can about the kid, the backstory, talking to the staffs where they were at previously is really important. And then obviously when they come on campus here, we're still evaluating them. Like, what are they like, to be around on a day-to-day basis? Do we enjoy being in their presence? Are they respectful to people? Are they someone that we can be with every day in the building and help us get to our goals?
I think something that everyone is interested in your position, what's that first phone call like? We can start first with a player. The first conversation that you have with a player, we'll move on to the agent side of it in a bit, but what's the first conversation like when you get in touch with a player?
Yeah, I think it's letting them know kind of how much interest we have in them, where we see them, and for me, I kind of, the evaluation side and where we see them fitting for us, whether it's, hey, you're going to come in and compete for playing time, or like, we do think this guy's probably going to come in as a starter. Obviously, still has to earn it, but you kind of drive the conversation that way a little bit. And then telling them, a lot of guys, really the first conversation is like, okay, what do you have there at my position? That's a big one, and what we're looking for. But really, like, just the main things that guys are looking for right now initially is, okay, like, what's the playing time situation, what's the scheme fit, and then what's the financial compensation? And that kind of dives into the agent world too.
That kind of takes us back to the transparency part of this, right? Like, you got to have transparency in those conversations early on with them, because the window now is so short. You don't really have time to kind of play this back and forth type game.
And the good thing is, those answers, if we're deep into it enough where we get a guy here on campus, like, you probably have the contract negotiated. You probably have that money is already done. That's kind of a gateway to get somebody here, right? Like, dealing with the agents and the players, like, they're not just gonna take trips when they have no idea what the financial side looks like if they're a guy that's getting money. So that's already done, that's already out of the way. Usually they know a little bit about how we see them and the playing time opportunity, and then they're willing to come on campus, and then that is when it's more like the relationships with the coaches. Do they like being here on campus? Do they like the city of Tulsa? Do they like the culture? Do they like how it feels? But the other part of it that I normally deal with is more like the kind of the entryway and the starting point.
So now the agent conversation. I get asked this question a lot, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe you should talk to my man Mason about this. Having to go through agents that players have now in this version of college football, what's that experience been like for you? And are there misconceptions in general out there, just in the general landscape of college football, about how all this works? Yeah,
I think so. I think agents in general kind of seem to get a negative reputation sometimes, especially in college football. But this cycle specifically, I think now that there is more transparency and people know more how it works, like, there's a lot of agents I deal with now that are great to work with. Like, they understand, they get it, they know what we're coming from, they're realistic about the expectations. There's still some out there that aren't as much or aren't as educated, but I think it's trending more towards the agents, having a better idea. And a lot of them have NFL clients, and they started in the last couple of years dipping down into the college landscape. And so I think it's getting to a better place. Hopefully at some point there's potentially some more regulations with those sorts of things. But no, most of them are good. And it's a lot of text, a lot of phone calls, a lot of names to go through. But we try and just, if there's a guy we have real interest in, we'll have those conversations and just kind of, again, it's another way to filter, right? We get so many names from agents like, hey, this is my roster list. We'll look through however many they have, and then I might say, oh, we're not interested in any, or there might be a lot, and like, hey, these guys really like, let's go from there.
in an instance like this, you got to have tremendous people skills, right? How have you evolved as a communicator since you've been in a position similar to this one, even in previous stops, from where you first started to where you are now?
Yeah. I think I've been lucky. It's been cool to be. I've been at stops in different parts of the country with a bunch of different coaches and coaching staffs, and we've been recruiting players at different levels. So I think you just take a little bit from everywhere you've come from, and you just get a little bit better at it, especially with a lot of the financial stuff. It became so new in the last few years. But yeah, no, I think you just take a little bit from everyone you come from, and everyone that you've been a part of, and learn to just kind of communicate. And I think communicating effectively and being honest, there's no need when you're talking to a recruit or an agent to lead them one way or the other. And a good part of that now is I think the financial piece really speaks volumes, right? Like, we're not going to tell a player that he's going to get a very low amount of money if we don't think they can play, right? And I think a lot of it's based on their production this past year. You kind of earn it. But if we're gonna pay a guy on our current team to stay, we're gonna pay him top dollar. We probably think that he's either earned it already, or we know he's gonna continue to do that. And same with the portal. So when you're having a conversation with an agent, I think our interest is pretty transparent based on what we're willing to compensate them.
You've been here a year now. You've kind of been able to soak in the city, take in the school now. And I ask that for a reason. Now that you've had a chance to soak that part in, how does that help communicate to that player, to that agent, about what they're potentially looking at here at the University of Tulsa and the city? Mm-hmm. And have you adjusted being here over the past year?
Yeah, definitely. I think you learn more and more about the city and the type of people that are here. And I think for me, it's helpful too on what the opportunities outside of football are here in the University of Tulsa. So like when I'm talking to a player or an agent on that side of things, you can know more about, the business opportunities, where they might be able to get an internship if they're interested in that. And we have so many people here in the community that are really willing to help with that, which has been awesome. And then I think, more than anything, Coach Lamb and our players do a great job of when they're here, talking to them about the city and the opportunities. And it is a cool place. Like, I was shocked when I got here a year ago. My first call when I heard about Tulsa, I didn't know anything about it, right? I knew it was in Oklahoma. That's really all I knew. And then I got here and I was very pleasantly surprised. I was like, this is great. So no, it's a good city and a good place to be. And I think too, it kind of sells itself when the guys are here on campus. They see it, and it's probably different than what the outside perspective is.
This coaching staff, how is it to work with in terms of communication, how well that you guys get along? Because, a lot's happening right now, right? And it's having everyone in this one place is going to put everything to the test as far as trying to put the best product on the field. But what's the overall group like in general working with you? Yeah,
it's awesome. They're a young, energetic staff that a lot of them do have an FCS background, which is actually helpful because as a coach, you have to be a lot more self-sufficient, right? You're probably identifying guys on your own. You're, organizing your recruiting boards. You're gathering information and doing it all yourself. Whereas, once you get to a level like this, we have an actual recruiting staff, where some spots they might not have before. So very self-sufficient. They're go-getters, right? Like, you don't need to push them. Whereas some places I've been and some coaches I've been around, it is a little harder to get them to just do the work that we need. But here it's great. Like, they're awesome. They're energetic. I think when recruits get on the phone with them or get here on campus, they feel that. So really easy group of coaches to work with. And I think us being here all day, every day in the same room, kind of working together, kind of speaks volumes for the type of atmosphere, we have in the building.
Speaking of atmosphere, what's your favorite part about the Portal House? We're here in the yoga room, so there's a yoga studio on site.
Yeah, I myself am living here, so I will be here for the duration, which has been fun. I just think, running around and having different conversations and, grabbing a coach here, grabbing a coach there. There's just a lot of energy, a lot going on. But I do think I like the big chessboard outside, for the individual things that it has. Got the pool heated up nice to, I think, 85. So we'll be able to use that a little bit. So just a fun place to relax, hang out, and get some work done.
Have you guys worked out chores in the house? I know Trey's going to be cooking.
Who's
on dishes duty?
Yeah, we're kind of, it's still day one, so we're kind of, ironing it out a little bit. But no, when we got in here yesterday, we had a ton of people here, kind of all hands on deck to set up, get things how we wanted, figure out what was going to go where, how we were going to operate. And so far, no real complaints.
Mason, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Jeremy.
That's Mason Behiel. Thank you for joining us. We'll have part 3 of the Portal House coming up next.